Hi, I'm Derri, and I've read it before. Today I'm going to talk about the very last of the City Watch books, Snuff, and it's pretty close to the end of Discworld in its entirety. It's book 39 of the 41, and it does feel like a farewell to the Watch. By this time we've seen Sam Vimes go from the gutter to being a duke of the city. He has a lovely wife, he has a young son, and he's sort of responsible for a holding peace between the dwarves and the trolls. So he's had a substantial impact on the world. Snuff takes place, well, it's not the end of his career because he hasn't retired, but he's getting close to it, I think. And he is taking a holiday at the suggestion of the Patrician, which is always, it's not concerning. It's always potentially a manipulation, and Sam is aware of this. And he and Lady Sybil have taken young Sam to the country, to the grand estate that he owns as being Sybil's husband. He's never been, and it is a fish out of water story, and it's another look at Terry Pratchett's constant attention on the class society and how that should work and shouldn't work, how it did work and didn't work, its flaws, and oddly some of the benefits of it. And as is always the case with a City Watch book, wherever the policeman goes there is a crime. Sam can't seem to get away from them. And with this one we come back to some of the other themes that are familiar with the Watch books. There's a very strong theme around slavery. We touch again on the themes of bigotry. We touch again on, very subtly, on his, well, it's not very subtle at all actually, it's quite blatant, on his alcoholism. It's charming. I think Snuff is possibly not the best, but I think it's one of the most satisfying Watch reads. And I know that I'm biased because I am such a big fan of Lady Sybil, and we get to see quite a lot of Lady Sybil in this book. As far as who's in this book, this is very Sam-centric. For most of the book, he is the only City Watch member who is in the book. And we see him be a husband, and we see him be a father to young Sam and to Sybil. And it's wonderful, like it's properly wonderful to see how they actually operate as a family. We see a lot of Willikins, and I have a bit of a soft spot for Willikins. I have done since Jingo, and we discovered that he has a dark side. and he shows a fair bit of that dark side in Snuff. And we meet a very young watchman who is a sort of a local constable. He's very naive, he's very young, and he has been being poorly used by the local council. And Vimes takes it upon himself, because he's Vimes, to give this young copper a crash course in good policing, and makes an impression. We learn quite a lot about, odd at this time of the series, but we learn quite a lot about goblins. They are not unknown in the Discworld books, but they are very much not an accepted sentient species at present. We learn a lot about them, and we meet one in particular, and the interactions that he has with the story suddenly give you this insight into the goblin world and their religion and the way they act and behave, and how they've managed to survive when the world around them has pushed them to the sides and just tried their damnedest to get rid of them. And that storyline can be quite upsetting, to be fair. But of course, Sam's on the case, and Sam can be incredibly useful and incredibly effective when his rage is engaged, and we see that here. And we get, toward the end of the book, we get a lot of familiar faces come into it. One of the things that I've mentioned already is that we do get Lady Sybil, and we get them in a married role. And there is a very wonderful scene that is a very deliberate nod to Pride and Prejudice and this notion of this minor nobility with lots of daughters that need to be married off. And Sybil is seen for once as making use of her husband and the way that he is to enact something that she wants to get done. And I think that that's rather fabulous, because we've only ever seen Sam using his wife as a duchess to open doors for him. So it was genuinely entertaining for me to watch Sybil use this outspoken man of the people to push a situation that she wanted to push. And I just really loved that as part of the story. I thought that was just magic. Young Sam is, I'm trying to think, I think he's about 6. I want to say 6. And he's at that point of little boy life where creatures are interesting, and he wants to learn about all of the things, and odd things sort of take his fancy, and he wants to explore and he wants to learn things. And that leads to some interesting connections being made. There's a young woman in town who is an author of children's books, and she becomes very useful to them in the mystery solving. We get a look at the way that music can be universal. The ability of music to speak across cultures, to provide emotion, to provoke emotion, and that's used to brilliant effect. We have another little instance where Fred has to again address his bigotry, and where Nobby is able to make friends anywhere. I mean, that's a skill Nobby has. And we get Wee Mad Arthur has quite an important role to play. There's a great deal of tying up lots of little stories, because it is our farewell to the Watch, and that can be very sad, because obviously these characters are amazing. I felt it to be quite a hopeful read. I found it to be very satisfying. I liked the direction that it left everybody facing. I think that, again, even though Terry looks at these very fundamental issues, these very societally ingrained issues that we face every day, he always does it with this sense of, but we can do better, and we can, and we will. And that gives these books always so much value to me. And it does it again with Snuff. When you compare Guards way back in book 8, that this beginning, this nascent seed of what the Watch was going to grow and become, and you follow those stories all the way through the series to number 39 in Snuff, the growth of the city of Ankh-Morpork, the increased there's a word. The interaction, the increased interaction between the races are very clear when you look at that very early book and you look at Snuff, and how much the Watch and Vimes in particular have achieved through simply going, well, this is a person who lives in our city and we just have to learn to deal with this. And it grew obviously through that mini arc that happened between the Fifth Elephant and Thud, where we're not dealing with just those members of these races in our city, we're dealing with these races as a whole, and we're encouraging them to get with the times, basically. These old grudges, you have to let them go. You just have, if you want to make progress, you have to let them go. It's a really good book. It's sad in that it's our farewell to the Watch, but it's incredibly satisfying because it's the culmination of all of those stories and all of the skill that Sir Terry had built up throughout writing Discworld, and where it isn't as laugh out loud funny as some of the early entries, the wit and the cleverness in the humour, that's always been present, and he's become far more adept at encompassing those quite serious themes in a way that never feels preachy, that never feels like you're having a leftist agenda being thrust down your throat. Not at all. The series asks for you to look at every individual as an individual. It tied up the story, it answered that particular story's questions, and it left it on a hopeful note. So that is the City Watch series. I hope it's helped if you are looking at jumping in either at any individual book or at starting with the City Watch series, or trying to work out how they interact with the other sub-series. Next week I am going to take a break from Discworld, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the series that actually holds my heart most. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. But for now, that's the City Watch. When I return, it will be the return to my favourite sub-series, which is The Witches. So when we next visit the Discworld, we shall meet some of the most iconic characters that live on the disc, and I will take great pleasure in introducing them to you. With that, like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have anything you'd like me to perhaps talk about in future, and I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a great week.